What's up, everyone? It's been a minute, and these past couple days, I've been thinking about, hey, like, what kind of video should I make next, right? I know we've been kind of sparse on the gaming stuff. I was looking through a whole bunch of stuff, and then I saw something on Twitter. And because we are primarily a gaming channel, we can talk a little bit about games. So not only are we a gaming channel, we talk about other stuff, but this one in particular had me a little bit perplexed. So this one's going to be about the game Unrecorded. I'm sure some of you guys have seen like some of the footage of it. They recently just released a trailer about 3 days ago. An IGN video has about 3.6 million views for a game trailer. That's pretty insane. And when you think about it, that's a lot of potential buyers right there. But of course, along with the buyers came a lot of controversy with it. And you may be asking, why would a game trailer get controversy? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because of hyper-realism. All right, so this goes back to a long time ago, right? Like, there have been people against video games, especially of the violent variety, for a long time, right? It's been like that since games were like first made that were like not Pong, where it had a little bit of realism in the sense of like there was something getting blown up or exploded or killed, anything like that. And it goes back to like the first GTA days when you're running over people, you get points for it. Old Mortal Kombat days when you were like literally ripping people's spines out. And it usually comes when a technology kind of turns forward, you know? It gets a little bit better and it becomes more realistic. That's it. But yeah, honestly, before we get into it, we should just go ahead and watch the trailer. And if you haven't seen it, you can go ahead and watch it right here. But if you have, you can skip forward a little bit if you want to. But right now, we're going to go ahead and watch it. And you'll kind of get a sense about why this thing has been getting so much controversy. So let's just go ahead and go into it first. All right, we're here. So this is Unrecord, I believe by Studio Drama. And let's kind of just go ahead and see what they got here. Like pretty realistic essentially in the beginning here, right? Everything looks real, and so it's of the body cam variety, of course. It's a new kind of genre that they're pushing out here. And you can see it really does look super realistic, just from the graphics, the way that the camera moves, the way the animations are. Shots fired, so you can tell you're a cop. Pretty gruesome. Shooting people down like that. You're in an abandoned building. Pretty clean. Little camera skip. It's fair, it's fair. I don't understand that part. Is that a drone coming at him? What the hell? Understandable, I guess, but okay. The reload animations are really good. I don't handle guns myself, but real tense situation. Looks like we got some like real-time event choosing.
Where the fuck is Oscar?
Okay, so now that we saw it, you can kind of see where the controversy comes from. So to start with, the first big thing is that it's just so real, right? And when it becomes this real, people get kind of scared about like, hey, why are we doing this? Do we really need this, etc. And so as you can see from the game, I said earlier, it's of like the body cam variety where you're playing like a cop and you have a body cam on your chest and you're looking through the lens of the body cam essentially. But yeah, so another reason why this thing has been gaining up controversy is because in America mainly, we have a really big gun problem, and whether or not what side you're on, you have to admit there's obviously some contentions that come with the police, whether it's from one side or the other. You know, one side supports, one side doesn't support, and like I said, it doesn't matter what side you're on. But that's one of the reasons why it's garnering controversy. So let's talk about why we don't have to worry about this like running out of control. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and see, is this just like a pre-game hype trailer, or is this something that like is CGI and pretty much fake? Like, you know what I mean? Like they CGI'd it and they're kind of playing it off as actual gameplay. And to do that, we can actually go to the one of the creators' Twitter. And so you can see right here, he put out a tweet. He said, "For those who thought Unrecord was fake or a video, sorry." So I personally, I've worked with Unreal Engine before. I'm almost 100% sure this is like a playable thing in Unreal Engine. All right, and I'll tell you why. When you take a closer look at things, you can still very much tell that a lot of the stuff there are textured, and it's like not actually like a physical object. And all it takes is like just looking closely at it. And some of the things that kind of obscure it, that kind of make it look like, hey, it's even more real. The first thing is the sky. So you can see the sky is like almost pitch white. And that's something that they can do to kind of make it look like, hey, it's an overcast day. It promotes realism. Because if you saw the sky and it was like blue, you could probably be able to tell that it's a video game, right? And another thing is the camera tricks. So the first is camera shakes. When we were going through the trailer, let's kind of go ahead and do the trailer real quick before we go to this video. So if we go through the trailer, you can see like when he's moving around, the camera like shakes around, right? It's kind of like the body, like the camera's kind of jiggling on his chest, things like that. And that promotes the realism, believe it or not. If the camera wasn't shaking like this, you'd probably be less immersed. That's an actual proven kind of study thing where camera shakes make things feel so much more real. And not to mention, another thing that also kind of makes it more realistic is the filter that the camera actually has, like around it. Like, see this corner right here, these corners, it looks like you're looking through a lens, literally. Like, it's coming from body cam lens. And the fact that it's like a little bit distorted too, it makes it harder to kind of look at these like closer spots and see that they're just textures there, right? That's all it really is. It's just camera tricks and things like that to make it seem even more hyper realistic than it already is just from the base graphics. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, if it was like fake or CGI, let's go ahead and look at this through this video. So you can see right here, this is the Unreal editor around here. He has the place actors panel right here, and you can kind of see like he just kind of like goes through it. He's moving the camera around. You can see this is like an actual scene, and he's about to click the play button, and now he's in game. So now he's reloading his clip, and now he's shooting around to prove like, hey, look, this is me. I wouldn't do this in the trailer. I'm just going boom, 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 boom. And so you see he's walking through, and now he's showing us the other part of the trailer where he was standing in the corner there. And you can tell the trailer obviously was more edited to be like more tense versus this where he's just like, yeah. He's just running around and shooting. Like, it's just to prove that, hey, this was the actual game, right? So he just stopped it, and now he's going over to the corner, and this is where another scene happened. You can see this stuff is like still up there, frozen. But yeah, this is just him proving that, hey, like this was an actual game. It's not just CGI, so don't worry about it. You can see 4.3 million views on it, 166k likes. A lot of people like it. Some people are against it. All right, so let's go through why you don't have to worry about this being the game that kind of like destroys everything. So first of all, this usually happens when there's a kind of like a turn of the century kind of technology or update to something that makes things feel different, right? And for this case, it's the body cam footage, that kind of thing. Like back in the day, it was like GTA coming up, making an open world kind of game where you can like steal stuff, be a criminal and all that. And we've been through it before, right? Where people are like, yo, this is too much. This is going to get all this stuff banned. It's going crazy. In reality, what's going to happen, and let me tell you this right now, I'm predicting this. What's going to happen is people are going to talk about it right now. They're going to get like flustered over it. They're going to be really super like into like not wanting this to come out, things like that. The game's going to come out. People are going to buy it. People are still going to talk about it. They're going to play it. And then they're going to forget about it after a month. That's usually what happens here. all the worrying, I feel like it's really overblown. Like, this isn't the first kind of game where they're playing as like a cop or anything like that. Because like, have you seen Ready or Not? That game is like so much more gruesome, and it has like way more darker like themes to it, right? Like, what are you gonna do about that? Like, no one said anything about Ready or Not, so why is this such a problem, right? And let's address the realism too. Just because it looks realistic doesn't mean it's gonna like fully influence people as much as people think that it is, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just a game. And to prove that it is just a game, let's go to their website. Let's see what this game is actually even about, because we don't really get anything from the fact that they're just running around shooting and stuff like that, right? So let's go ahead and go to the website real quick and check out what they're talking about here. So if you go to their actual website, you can see it's Unrecord, it's studiosdrama.com. This is their actual website. You can unlist their game, or wishlist it at least. It's in early development. So we go down here, and you can see their pitch. This is what the game is going to be about. So it says, Unrecord is a single-player FPS that tells the story of a tactical police officer from the perspective of his body camera. As you work to solve a complex case, you'll need to use your tactical and detective skills to succeed. So it just sounds like a normal detective game where the graphics are just good. Good graphics. Tense area, good little like feeling around you. The atmosphere looks really crazy. And let's go on. So overview. Unrecord is a tactical shooter where players can expect an immersive and narrative experience. Unrecord's features complex dialogues, innovative gameplay mechanics, tough moral dilemmas, and a unique shooting system. Quite frankly, this trailer looked devoid of gameplay as much as I have ever seen, pretty much. He was just running around and shooting. That was about it. That was the gameplay. But you can see some of the game. I guess there was some more gameplay elements, like choosing your options and whatnot. And I trust that they are working on the gameplay. All right, because like, you know, we can't always like guess things from trailers. Because we all know how that turns out sometimes when you kind of get hyped for a trailer, and all of a sudden it's not what it seems when it comes out, right? Like Cyberpunk. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just some stuff like that. Keep going next. You can see key features. An original aiming system, a free aiming system with authentic ADS, unrestricted hand movements. I guess you're just going to be moving the mouse around, kind of like where you move, and that kind of aims the camera. You move it to a little too far to the left, it'll start moving to the left, things like that. Die and retry combat with technical and minimalist approach. No room for errors. It's up to you to develop your own tactics. Make dialogue choices. A narrative-driven FPS focusing on plot-rich and twists. Artistic direction that plays with the perspective of video and body cam footage, creating a trompe l'oeil experience. I don't know if I said that right. I'm not French, but hey, sorry to the French homies if I did say that wrong. So, one thing that the actual creator brought up, or not even the creator, they had like a little FAQ where they talked about some of the controversies that were surrounding it, and they're like, listen, I kind of agree with this point. They're like, listen, other games and other like mediums of entertainment, like television, movies, they're way more gruesome than this. So like, it's kind of crazy. They didn't say this. This is my words. It's a little bit crazy that you're like whatever about the other stuff, and then with this, you're just kind of like, it's too much. It's too much. We don't need this. And I like to think that games are art, right? They're putting their artistic view out there, right? And they're making art that's playable for people. I watched this clip from John Wick 4. I know this is kind of a separate point. I watched this clip from John Wick 4 where he was in a library and he took this guy's head and put a book on the table and then slammed his neck into the book and like killed him. And that was just kind of plainly on screen. No cuts, no nothing. And now I'm kind of sitting here like, I see this and I'm like, you guys are mad about this and not like John Wick 4 where he's just murdering someone like just out in the open? Like, clearly this game is going to be rated M for mature, right? That's a clear thing. Like, no kids are going to be playing this. But like you can see here, like it's really just a game. That's it. Like, what is Unrecord about? It's a single player FPS. We saw that. What kind of game can Unrecord be compared to? It's they're citing right now. It's a blend of Firewatch and Ready or Not. Right? Realism is not an obsession, but rather an integral part of the universe. So Unrecord will not be a simulation game, is what they're saying. And they're gonna keep on kind of like making it and continuing on. So what are some actual points that people are making here? We have here, this is Trainwrecks TV. You might know him. He's a Twitch streamer, and this was a take I saw. I know it's like 270 likes, whatever. It was like 8 minutes in when this got screenshotted. And like, of course, let's just go ahead and read it. So he goes, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I don't think he's going to get a lot of hate from this. This is like whatever take. But this level of realism in video games should be heavily moderated in shooters for anyone under a certain age. I hope parents do their job. This level of realism for shooting and killing makes me feel uncomfortable, as if I'm watching a real leak from a military or police operation. The clear distinction between real and fake is necessary, but this level of realism, in my opinion, gives real credibility to the nonsense politicians have been spewing for years about video games conditioning young people to lose a sense of empathy towards violent tendencies or situations. So, one thing I do fully agree with here is that the job is on the parents, right? What I don't agree with is the heavily moderated part, right? Because when you moderate something like this, that means everything else is going to have to fall under that umbrella now. Because if we do it for this game, you have to do it for the rest, right? It's going to be like that. It's going to have to be like that. And at that point, when do we stop the moderation, right? When does it become enough? And that's always going to become a problem. And so I personally think you don't need to heavily moderate this, because like, we have other games out there that are way more violent than this and way more crazier. And I just don't see the need to moderate something like this in specific. Because in the end, the job of the parents, it's going to be the job of the parents to actually moderate their kids and see what they're doing in their day and making sure that they're not ingesting content that they don't want the kids to see. That's the parents' job. It's not the job of the developers to be like, hey, we want to make this friendly for kids. If they were making it for kids, they probably would have added a lot more kid stuff. So this is obviously aimed at adults, right? Like this, if you don't want your kids to play this, don't let them play it. It's as simple as that. You don't really need to moderate the game itself, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, another thing too is that politicians are always going to be spewing nonsense about video games conditioning young people. It's always going to be there. They've always said it, and they'll continue to say it, no matter how real, how unreal, how whatever happens in games. It doesn't matter how real or unreal it is. Like, they're just going to keep doing it anyway. And so one last thing I want to address is that the police situation. So the developers of Studio Drama of Unrecord are in France, right? So they have their own set of problems, and they've stated that they make no intention of making this about politics or including minorities or women, things like that, right? It's not about that. It's about the story that they're trying to tell. And I feel like if you limit this, you're going to have to limit some of the stories that other people tell in other mediums. And no one's going to want that, right? Because at the end of the day, it'll just make things boring, worse, and just generally less enjoyable. You know, I support like people, having their opinions and stuff, and I support the safety of people. But I just don't feel like this level of like scrutiny is fully necessary, because there's just so much other shit out there that's just as bad or even worse, and yet they kind of just freely roam about and everything is fine about it. It's just because of this clip got like really expanded, like everyone saw it. It got what's the word? What am I looking for? Something I'm not. Viral. There you go. It got viral. A lot of people saw it, and I don't think they realized that, like, hey, literally everything around us is just as worse. And I get the point where it's like, hey, simulating a cop is not the best thing, especially in America right now, just because of how like loaded it is currently. But at the same time, why is simulating a criminal just fine? You know what I mean? Like, if you're that like butthurt about simulating a police officer, you should be just as butthurt as simulating a criminal, right? Like in Grand Theft Auto, you're just a straight up criminal. And like pretty much most of your characters are. It's kind of crazy, right? In my opinion, at the very least, like you're killing people, you're shooting people, you're hitting people up. You know, like it's gotten its share of controversy already, Grand Theft Auto. But like, you know, and it's not the only game, of course. But I hope you guys kind of like saw what I'm trying to say here. If you disagree, go ahead and write it in the comments. That's completely fine with me. You can feel free to disagree and whatnot, but in the end of the day, I just don't feel like this is something that completely needs to be moderated. I don't think it's the end of gaming. I really don't think anything like that is gonna happen to it, because at the end of the day, people are gonna buy it, play it for a month, go on to the next game. It's usually just as simple as that, especially because it's a story game too. Like, the replayability is probably going to be not that high. Maybe just like a trophy system that'll get people to replay it a little bit, but that's about it. Like, you're going to go through it, you're going to play the story. It is what it is. And they said they're not even working on multiplayer, so it's not going to be a multiplayer game. It's just a fully single player experience. So, like I said, in that case, I feel like it's just an art. But yeah, if you guys like what you saw, drop a like. If you guys dislike to drop a dislike. Drop a subscription too while you're at it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop a comment. I love you guys all. It's hot as hell. I'm going to go fan myself because I'm burning right the hell up. It was nice seeing you guys again, and expect some gaming content for the next video. I'm going to go relax. Peace.